Welcome. My name is Bernardo Vargas. I am Dr. Nearshoring, and I thank you very much for joining one more chapter of Manufacturing in Mexico for Dummies. Today, I want to talk about, in this chapter, I want to cover three major changes that the recent government in Mexico is making to the Constitution. Well, a little bit of background. Back in June 2nd this year, we had election of president and all the Senate, lower and upper chamber, and the winner was the party of Morena. They completely beat the opposition with above 53% of votes, and obviously using some political threats. They obtained the majority, 2/3 of the chamber, both chambers of the Senate. So, in other words, this party in power, with the presidency and the legislative power, they can make any change of the Constitution to the Constitution they want. Okay, so their purpose is to get total power. So the first change they wanted to make was to change the judicial power. You know, in Mexico, like in most other developed countries under development, we have three powers. We have executive power, which is the president, legislative power, which are senators, and we have them judicial power. In the judicial power, we have the minister, the magistrate, and the judges. Those three levels. The magistrate is the superior court. Those are 11. Then the magistrates are in the rank, I think, of hundreds of magistrates. And then the rest are judges. In total, those positions in the judicial power are 1,500. The total judicial power, I think, is around 10,000 employees, because all the bureaucracy that it's obviously required to make the judicial power work. Okay, that is federal only, not local, not states. Okay, but anyway, the change they want to make is to basically fire all the people today working. All these 1,500 positions will be fired, will be removed, and then make votations. Which is, in other words, open each position for candidates to be voted, and call the Mexican population to an open vote, and to vote for those 1,500 positions. Okay. Very quickly, two things that are extremely bad and I think extremely stupid. The complexity to have all the population voting for 1,500 positions. How many candidates you're going to have for those 1,500 positions? They don't even know how they're going to organize. But the change to the Constitution is already made. It has been approved. So this is not something that may come or not come. No. It's coming, and we have for example, the ministers already quit to their positions, because in June of 2025 we will have this huge election. They are talking about it's gonna cost 30,000 13,000 billion pesos. Okay, it's huge, and it's stupid. This is so incredible complexity, because they're talking about 5 candidates, 10 candidates, 15 candidates for each position. But the requirement, this is other stupidity, the requirement for qualifying to be a judge, magistrate, or minister are only to have a college degree, I think in law, I think no experience is required, no experience, and only 5 letters of recommendations are required, and that's it. It can be that person can be a candidate. But okay, and that, I think it's self-explained that in Mexico most of the judges have 10, 15, 20-year experience. More, the ministers is the same, is even more. They have even more experience, and they have studies, many levels of study and degrees they need to get to have a position. So imagine the magistrates and the ministers are very capable, and the judges as well. They have these people that they have devoted all their life to make the career in judicial power. So this is the most crazy, stupid thing. Well, and then we have the purpose. The government says that the purpose is basically to avoid corruption. But how voting, how people to vote is going to prevent corruption? Corruption will remain there, and it's going to be even worse. Why? Because a candidate that is going to be pass through the voting process, the election process. For an election, it requires money to support the candidate. Normally, the candidate, if the candidate wins, it supports their supporters. It's going to be helping their supporters, and that's something that it's, I think in many countries is not a crime. It's normal. It's normal because they help in their campaign. In their campaigns, they got support from those people in their campaigns because they expect to be after senator, etc. They expect help. But for a judge, it's extremely dangerous, because imagine a company that it's a private investor, actually a foreign company, which has a problem with a local state government, for example, a fine or something, infraction of law, a fee, fine, and the company present the case in to the judge, and the judge received support from Morena, from the government. Who do you think this judge is going to support? The foreign company or the government? Obviously, he's going to support the government. So it doesn't make any sense. Well, so that is a big risk, and it's very important to pay attention to these changes, to this situation, because it's going to start playing starting June, and we don't know what's going to happen. But definitely there are going to be many people not correctly trained and probably biased by government. So big big red light for companies coming into Mexico and for foreign companies already here. Okay? We need to be aware of that risk. Then, the second, the change of energy. They make a change in constitution to energy reform of 2013. Now the CFE is gonna provide by constitution 54% of energy, and the private sector is gonna provide 46%. Before there was no limit, so private sector was private companies producing energy were selling their energy at fair market value, and we in Mexico we were getting less cost energy, higher quality, but the government company, which is CFE, that's the government monopoly, was every time less and less competitive, and with less and less investment. Now, with the government of López Obrador, their intention was to rescue CFE, which is a completely broken company. I think it has $74 billion in passive personnel, employee, passives, benefits like payroll, okay, and it's completely now it's completely broken. Not in bankruptcy because it's not official, but it's completely broken. Their efficiency is terrible. Their competitiveness is also very low, and their rates are extremely high in comparison, for example, with Texas. Sometimes commercial, industrial, and regular homes, we pay double versus Texas in energy. It's not extreme. It changes from time to time, but normally it goes up. So right now, most of the energy is going to come from CFE, which implies that we're going to have highest rates than in the past, and the risk for investing in producing energy for foreign companies will also increase, because the control of the production is going to be managed by CFE. Before we have an independent regulatory entity created by the government, but not managed, not ruled by the government, which was managing how much energy was produced from CFE and how much energy was produced from private producers. There were several criteria that was happening every day in a day-to-day basis, and part of that criteria was cost and opportunity of and also quality of the supply. So many times the CRE, that was the name of the regulatory entity, decided to give most of the energy production to the private sector. to the private investors, which has, according to market, was correct. But now it's different. Now it's returned to central government, to the monopoly, to control everything. Upside is that last presidency from AMLO was extremely negative and closed for foreign investment. Now that we have the new government, they have been talking about buy from private companies the construction, installation of new electric generation plants, and to be controlled by CFE. Those plants can be managed by the private sector, but hired by CFE. So that will be part of the 54%. Okay? Or only build the plants and then operated by CFE. But the big question here is, if I am a company and I'm investing, and suddenly, because it depends on the demand of energy, suddenly I do not get access to supply the energy that I'm producing to the grid, to the network, so I'm going to start losing money. But that's part of the government. If I complain with the judge, if I put my case in front of the law of the judge, and the judge belongs to the government, then it's not going to be a good deal, right? So it sounds like a lot of risk in there. So this is the purpose from this episode. Just to let you know, this is happening. This is recent, but has been approved. This is already approved, and there's nothing nobody can do to change it. So this is going to happen. So many investors in Mexico are having second thoughts and thinking the thing twice, to stay or to come. So please have in mind these changes. Then the third is it's also it's also very difficult. Very difficult for Mexico to try to get new investment, new companies to come here for nearshoring and to expand their production to Mexico, because this is the government has decided to disappear the independent regulation entities. By the TMEC, the Free Trade Agreement of North America, there's clear statements there that requires Mexico to have ways to protect private investors, and for obviously foreign private investors as well. So there were created to make this solid and very reliable and with a lot of credibility rules and regulations. In the past, since the NAFTA was implemented, there were created about 7 different entities, which are the Energy Control Entity, Federal Communication Entity, the Transparency, Information Transparency Entity. That's for citizens to be able to question the government of their transactions and their activities, so they can defend themselves from the government. So these were about 7 different entities, and they are all in the electoral National Electoral Institute, which has been organizing elections in Mexico for I think more than 30 years. Since election of I think 94 or 2000. 2000, yes, 34 years. This institute is also considered to disappear. So imagine a country without these regulatory institutions protecting the citizen and the companies and the foreign companies. So there is a huge risk as well. And this is in the process to be approved, but it's going to be approved according to Morena. Remember that Morena has the control of 2 chambers and the majority of the chambers. So there's nobody who can oppose to that. This is going to be approved before the end of the year. I think, but they'll finish for this legislature that finishes, I think, in December. It's going to be approved, and it's going to be operational, and those entities are going to disappear. So, God protect us. That's all that I have. Sorry, it's a little long. This chapter was a little long, but I really was compelled to provide this information to all the people who want to listen to my program. Thank you very much. This was Manufacturing in Mexico for Dummies. My name is Bernardo Vargas. I am Dr. Nearshoring, and I hope I can have you here watching one more of my episodes in the near future. Thank you very much.